So feel free to avail yourself of that. And there are about 4 things that Dr. Weaver asked me to speak to. Why grant writing could be something you would be interested in being able to do. Why to add that to your set of skills. Differences differences from other types of writing. Audience issues. You all have talked about audience, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And nuts and bolts. And then I wanted to leave a little bit of time at the end just to, do you want to talk about the lows?
They've already talked about
Grant.
it. We talked about that last
Okay.
time. Yeah.
Okay. So those are my 4 big areas. I don't have anything real formal on PowerPoint. I thought we could talk because I understand you are a talkative bunch. So I did put up examples of 3 grants we received funding on, and I thought as part of what we talked about today, we could look at those and let you just see some variations in types of grants. And it will speak to some of the issues related to, especially the second thing up there, differences from other types of writing, because I think they're quite visible on the screen. Have any of you ever worked in a context where in your work or in a school, your school has applied for a grant? I'm not leaving. Multi-million-dollar secret, right? Do any of you have any contact with understanding grant writing or experiencing it? Okay, are any of you in learning communities?
Just the honors.
No. Okay. Are any of you in the SSS program or the McNair program or one of the TRIA programs or have friends who are? If you have a friend who's a graduate nursing major at SNU, those are all programs where our current students have benefited from grants. And obviously, most people go into grant writing because they want money, and that is a tangible byproduct of the experience, but there's a lot more to it than that. So I wanted to just say something initially about who is giving out these grants. A grant is money that somebody gives you that you don't have to pay back, that you are to use for a specific purpose that the person who gives you the money specifies. You're really not supposed to take it and go buy a car with it, unless that was the agreement between you and the donating party. Many companies, for tax purposes or PR, like community PR purposes, have what they call foundations, where they put part of their earning aside, and there are some tax benefits to doing that. And those foundations then determine what kinds of projects or programs they want to promote. And they give grant money to people who will help them accomplish those projects and programs. Sometimes it's scholarships, sometimes like the Lowe's grant, it's working with education, a certain level of education in the community. Sometimes it is a very specific program that has specific parameters that they are looking for a place to house. And that's much more true of government grants than foundations. And so in the granting world, there are many types of entities or organizations that give you money. And the federal government is definitely one of those, along with these private foundations. They can be big, they can be small. Many of them have an interest, that is the foundations, in helping people in their geographical area. So there are a lot of foundations that will only give to organizations in Oklahoma because they want to, as part of their goal, the Kirkpatrick Foundation, which has given us several grants, they want to promote the arts in the state of Oklahoma. So they're not going to give money to people in Arkansas, by and large. Most of their money goes back into Oklahoma. So that's that's an important background to talking about thinking of grants not just as a way of getting money, but as a way of getting something done. And I think the difference, if you think of like you as somebody or your organization, if you are at your work and you're writing a grant for your organization, if you think of yourself and the grantor being the money giver in some sort of relationship, many people would probably say that was a parasitic relationship. You take, they give, They don't know all they're giving. You're the beneficiary. It's really, in the mind of the grantor, more of a symbiotic relationship. They get something out of it. You get something out of it at the same time. They get someone who's going to help ultimately promote their objectives and the things that are important to them and their organization. You get the wherewithal, the finances, other kinds of things like networks and connections that help you carry out a project in a particular environment that's important to you. And so really good grants, I think, are partnerships of that sort. They're saying, we need at our university these kinds of things. You find a foundation that says, we want to raise the level of the arts in Oklahoma. We come back and say, we want to do a foundation, or we want to do a grant for equipping our art department and running educational programs with outside artists for area educators, which is one of the programs that we have had in the last 5 years. Helps us, helps them, helps develop a long-term relationship with them as well. So that's one of the benefits of working with any type of grantor, whether it's a federal agency like the Department of Education or NASA. We have 2 NASA grants here on campus. We have the NASA Space Grant. Some of you probably know upper division students in your areas who have some experience with that if you're in science. And we also have the NASA REU, which is the research opportunities for undergraduate students. So even though in a government grant situation, they're trying to accomplish something nationally, and they see an institution as a site through which that can be done. So there are a lot of places where your lives may bump into grant money at this institution before you graduate, which is kind of interesting to think about. One of the other things I want to say about working with someone who gives you money is that money is the tangible. The intangible things you get are access to professional networks. For example, our programs on this floor that are TRIO programs are part of state organizations and national organizations. What they learn from other people in those organizations helps them do their job better. The Kirkpatrick Foundation puts us in touch with other art entities in Oklahoma City, opens up other opportunities, opens up our relationships with other people we know. So they're both short-term and long-term advantages of getting into the world of grant writing. Okay, let's take a look at these 3 grants I have off the board and I want to have you speak to what you see as far as how what you see here is different from other kinds of writing, if you would. And I'm going to load my thermos here. Let me say something about these 3 grants. The Kirkpatrick Foundation proposal is a grant that we just completed this past summer. It was a 1-year grant to give us money to help support the Learning Community Project here at SMU. And it was in the amount of about $16,000, which sounds like a lot, but it doesn't go very far when you're spending it. Left. It was a private foundation, a foundation that had given us money in the past. They knew us, we knew them. Not an extremely complex application. The Communities Foundation Oklahoma Graduate Nursing Grant is a 5-year grant. We get somewhere around $250,000 a year, renewable for up to 5 years at their discretion each year. And it funds faculty salaries, it funds scholarships for students in the graduate nursing program who agree to teach in Oklahoma. And it was started by an individual and his family who wanted to increase the number of nurses with master's degrees in Oklahoma hospitals. This individual came from health professions, saw the need, wanted to do something about it with his money, and so it's managed through a foundation, and we are one of several